everything else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl, and Joy and I are two very old friends who are going to talk about murder and everything else. So, Joy, I do have to mention the shooting in Georgia that happened a few days ago. Well, at the time this comes out, it's going to be a couple of weeks. But as everyone knows, two students and two teachers were killed, and the father of the shooter was arrested, which I am very glad for. We might have differing opinions on that with our listeners, but I think parents have to be held accountable for things that their children do and what happens to their children. And that's going to go into our topic today. Um, the FBI had investigated the kid and his father last year. Well, had investigated the kid, the shooter, because they had been tipped off that he had reported online about shooting up a school, and even went so far as to say he wasn't ready yet. It might be a year or two, and it ended up being the next year, this year. And the FBI went to investigate and interview the kid. Of course, he denied that it was him. And the father said, he was questioned if he had any guns in the house, and he said whatever he had was not accessible to his son, and not criticizing the FBI, because I don't know what the rules are. Sometimes you're handcuffed by, policies and procedures, but they close the case. Um, and then the father buys the kid a gun for Christmas. And and then this happens. And then the last thing I saw was the father talking about his son being bullied incessantly. And that's not an excuse. Um, I don't know. You and I have discussed. I don't know what the solution is, but something has to change. It just has to change. This is a very sad state of affairs of the United States of America.
It's really, really sad. And I just have to say that, um, you know, this is an election year and we don't talk about politics, but I will say that, um, you know, I think about, um, I think about like all the people who are in power who have the ability to make changes. And I think it's really important for people to pay attention to what people are saying. And if they're going to make changes, and look at those people and maybe consider picking the people who are going to make some changes, because like you said, we just can't keep going through this. And I know that that everybody sends thoughts and prayers. I know that. I mean, but it's like, how many thoughts and prayers we go back to. I want to talk a little bit. Several episodes ago, we talked about Ethan Crumbly's mother being convicted for her son, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, her
and
son basically.
his father
Um,
and mother were convicted.
yeah, for it was episode 10 of season 2. It came out on March 10th. Guilty verdict, Jennifer Crumbly. So I don't have Alzheimer's. We did an episode on it, and it set a precedent. And I will say that precedent is, if you have a child that is underage and they do something like this, you will be held responsible for what they did, and for purchasing the weapon, for putting it in the hands of your child, for not securing it when you're not outside shooting at deer and squirrels and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure the father is devastated. I know the mother is too. I read a report where she called the school that same day and reported her son as potentially being capable of doing a violent act. And
Oh, interesting. I haven't
oh
heard that
yeah,
yet. So what
and
did they
the
say led her
ad,
to call that day?
admit I don't know why she called, but she was tipped off somehow, and the administration went to look for the boy, but there was a confusion about another boy with a similar name, because again, these are schools that have 1,500, 2,000 students in them. So they're big schools. And there was confusion. And because they couldn't hammer down which kid it was, and I'm sure they got distracted and had other things come up. I'm not pinning this on any administration person, by the way, in telling this, that they dropped the ball and they didn't follow through, and it he the shooting started a half hour later.
Well, what I have to say about that is it needs to stop before school has to get involved. Children should be able to go to school and focus on their studies. Parents of these children should not have to worry that their kid is going to get shot while they're at school studying. They should only be worried about their grades. Teachers should not have to worry about maybe possibly wearing bulletproof vests to work. So to me, these parents, not everyone, I'm not generalizing, but parents who are not only neglectful, but if your kid is showing signs of any type of mental health issues, you don't go out and buy them a gun or give them access to one. But in both the Crumbly case and this one, the kids were bought the guns after showing signs of mental health issues. Now, did the father really believe that when the FBI came to his house? Imagine the FBI coming to your house, Joy. And you are going to believe that your kid didn't post this? And knowing him, knowing your child, I'm sure he was showing there were other signs, and you're just going to brush it off and then buy him a gun for Christmas that same year. It's just negligent. So I'm glad that negligent parents are being held accountable. And like I said, we could do a whole episode on this, and we probably will. But I could not, I'd be remiss not to mention it, especially because it kind of ties into today's topic.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to make light of the situation, but I am going to tell you that when I was in high school, this is a completely separate topic. I had a classmate that had a business card in his wallet, and we were at like Great America where you ride roller coasters and stuff. We had been waiting in line to get on this roller coaster called the Grizzly for like 45 minutes or something ridiculous like that. And he opened his wallet and he pulled out a card, and it had his name on the front and it said FBI. And I was like, oh,
God.
cool. Because, we didn't have printers and blah, blah, blah. You couldn't just make up a business card like on the fly.
Right, right.
It said female body inspector.
I love that. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Well, I just remember being so impressed. Like, how did he get business cards made? Like I didn't have any business cards. We were like 17 or 18 years old.
So you weren't necessarily impressed that he was from the FBI, but that he had a business card.
Yeah. Like, how do other 17 and 18-year-olds get business cards made? Again, we didn't have printers and laser printers
Right?
and 3D
Internet.
printers and all that crazy shit back then.
Yeah, that's
Well,
funny.
guys, I will say this I am a parent, and whenever something like this happens, I think about hugging my kids tightly and kissing them and telling them how much I love them, because sometimes when you send them out into the world, there's just no guarantees that everything's going to go well. So there are parents out there now who don't have their children to kiss and hug, um,
Yeah.
at night. And
Heartbreaking.
I always go back to Sandy Hook, and I think all of those little kindergartners and first graders, like, why has it been okay? That was when my children were little or
Oh my
babies.
God.
Why was that okay? Like, why how so many years gone by since that happened, and
It's not any better.
it's still happening? Like,
Yeah.
it makes me sick. Anyway, we do have a disclaimer for this episode. So, Cheryl, I'm going to let you throw out that disclaimer.
Yes. So this episode is going to be about sexual abuse of a child or children and a murder of a child. So if this is triggering for you, or it's just not something you want to listen to, we understand if you have to skip this one. So it's going to be a heavy topic.
That's right. And I will also say that it's also a topic that is all over the news right now. It's really, I just did a small search on Spotify. There's already so many podcasts out there on this topic. So it's front and center news. But before we get into our topic, I have some updates. I have exciting updates. Guys, I was going to update that we've hit 50 listens per week on our tiny little labor of love podcast, but overnight we actually jumped up to 85. So, my next big goal is to hit 100 per week. Um, and I was going to say that we'd hit 200 listens per month, but actually now we're at 250. So, thank you so much to all of our listeners out there, whether you're somebody who knows us or somebody who just stumbled on us and have given us a shot and listened to us and enjoy what you're hearing. We are really, really thankful. And you're always welcome to reach out to us. You can post a comment on any of the streaming platforms that we're on. Or what you can do is you can email us at murder and everything else at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And Cheryl said something to me a few days ago that was so funny, but it's also very, very cool. And that is that not all of our listeners are my friends and family anymore.
That's what
So,
made me happy. Yeah. Not, hey,
yeah,
no shade to your friends and family. Joy's
that's
friends and
right.
family are welcome. But it is cool to know that people who don't know either one of us, particularly you, are listening. Yeah. Thank you so much, you guys.
That's right. Anyway, Cheryl, you got any updates?
I do. It actually goes hand in hand with yours. Um, this is the little podcast that could. We really enjoy talking to each other about stuff. Um, I've always wanted to talk to someone about these cases, because I'm so like invested in them, and there's so many angles that I look at a case from. But along with being a little podcast that thinks they can, we have, the saying two steps forward, no, one step forward, two steps back. Well, we are living proof of that. So I just like to apologize for the face to face with Scott Peterson. If it sounded like I was in a can, I was. No, I have been having, let's just say, some technical challenges, computer challenges. You all have been there. So hopefully you'll be forgiving with us. Um, so one week it'll sound great, and then the next couple weeks something happens. But just know that we are trying our best, and we hope that you still enjoy the content regardless.
That's right. And also remember that Cheryl and I do this ourselves with the help of someone's spouse. And I will say that the three of us, none of us are technical people, like support people. We're not in the technology industry, so I think it's really great that, you can even hear anything, you know? If all you could hear was just like blah 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 blah. I mean, you, that would still
It,
be
it might
awesome.
it might sound like that to them sometimes, but we're trying.
I saw this sweatshirt on the TikTok shop and it says professional yapper. And I was
Oh my
so
God.
tickled. I was like, you and I need to be wearing those when we do our first meet and greet because we are professional yappers. That's basically
Yes,
what we do. And
I
also,
love
isn't
that.
that exciting? The thought that we might someday have a meet and greet. But anyway.
Yes, that's very exciting.
You know what I like about podcasts is you can like pick your nose or you can like floss and nobody can see what you're doing.
Yeah. Except some people can hear what you're doing.
That's
Like
true.
I know when, well, I can just sense when Joy's not paying attention and she's shopping while I'm talking.
Whatever.
I
Anyway, on the topic of shopping, I have a shout out.
Oh boy.
My shout out is for the people who work at Zappos. And just remember, guys, we are not being paid to endorse any products or any companies, etc. We just talk about like companies that we like and why we like them. But I had to order some shoes from a company that shall remain nameless for one of my kids for back to school. And we're now like 4 weeks into the school year and we still have not received the shoes because they screwed up. And maybe we're 5 weeks into the school. I don't know. I ordered them 6 weeks ago. So I went and ordered them from a second website that shall remain nameless, and they still haven't arrived. So that's two websites. And I had to fight the first one to get my money back, which was unreal because the shoes never showed up. But I'm shouting out the people who work for Zappos. And I probably shouted them out before. I ordered shoes from them on a Wednesday, and I specifically requested that they be delivered on Friday. They were at my house on Friday. I used my Amazon account to pay for them because I believe they're owned by Amazon. I was able to use Rakuten. So I got Rakuten dollars back as well for ordering them. And the boots were super cute and super awesome, right, Cheryl? They were those black moto boots I showed you.
Yeah, very cute.
Oh, and I got free shipping and they have free returns. So if you don't like what you order, or it doesn't fit right, or it doesn't look like the picture, you can send it back and you're not going to get dinged or have to pay a restocking fee. By the way, that restocking fee is total bullshit. I
It
ordered a
is.
pair of
I
shoes
know.
for one of my kids, and after the restocking fee, the shipping fee, and the inspection fee or whatever, out of $130, I got back $44.
Ugh.
$44.
Wow.
I
It's
know. I was
basically a punishment fee for returning
exactly. I
it.
was so annoyed. Anyway, Cheryl, you have any shout outs?
I do. So, Joy, I am not a thrill seeker, but I do love to watch other people because it's something I could never do. So, I watched Netflix's Skywalker's A Love Story. Have you seen that or has it come up in your feed?
No.
It's about these online people who climb
Uh,
dangerous, risky things. Um, like I loved Free Solo about Alex Honnold and
I
his
love that too.
climb at Yosemite. I watched it so many times. And Man on a Wire about the tightrope walker who wanted to walk between the two twin towers when they were still up. So this one is called Skywalker's A Love Story. It's about this couple that they had separate um, they had their own streaming platforms, their own channels. So separately, I guess they had followings, and then they got together. And it's about them climbing all these crazy places without any type of security
Whoa.
harness or anything, and then them taking these crazy, beautiful pictures at the top of these. When I watched it, if I go out on a balcony of a very high, a high floor at a hotel, and I go out on the balcony, my reaction is my feet get tingly on the bottom. Like people, you have your own reaction, like you break out in a sweat or whatever. My thing is my feet will feel weak. And when I'm watching this because of the camera angles, my feet were getting weak on the comfort of my own couch. But I want to give a shout out because these documentaries, we watch them and it's an hour and a half, but it took 7 years to make this documentary. And
Oh my
it's really
God.
incredible. It's incredible the time that's put into making it. We're watching it as entertainment, but it's like a labor of love for the producer, the creator, the director. So anyway, if you are into like thrill seeking stuff, but you don't want to physically do it, but you can watch other people that do, I would recommend it. And on
Huh.
that note, I also watched a hot dog eating contest.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's now I can't remember the guy's name. It was a Japanese guy who was a world champion for a long time, and then this
Matt
other
Stoney?
guy. No, no, but they had him on. He was the pre he went up against three Olympic athletes eating chicken wings and he won, but the main event was I should have their names. Anyway, it was a hot dog eating contest and it was disgusting to watch, but I had to watch it.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it's disgusting. I've heard, so it's just the hot dogs or is it buns too?
Buns too. And
So
they
I've
were
heard
not
that what
allowed.
they'll do is they'll dip the bun in
No.
water
So
because
they
it
went
makes it
over,
really like squishy and you can
and
basically swallow it.
they were not allowed to dip. That was one of the rules because that's something
Oh
that they
man.
used to do. They were not allowed to dip. They were given water. So what they were doing was shoving the hot dog in their mouth and drinking the water to help it go down.
Okay.
But um, it was pure entertainment, and I was cracking up that I was even watching this, um,
She's
because I don't
guys,
know why.
she's getting to the end of her rope.
It was Chestnut versus Kobayashi, and it was called Unfinished Beef because they had this rivalry for years. And I won't say who won. You should go watch it. It's very
Um,
interesting.
did you find out how many hot dogs the winner ate?
Yeah, you find out. I think he broke his own record. Like he ate 80 something
Oh God.
in 10 minutes, and the loser ate 60 something. I don't know, a lot. It's gross.
I bet if they live in the country and they have like a septic system, they have to have it like pumped out extra early because imagine having to go to the bathroom like the next day or a couple days later after
Oh
eating that
God.
many hot dogs. Your body's not designed to ingest that much
Well,
processed. What did I call it? Butts and snouts?
but just like any athlete, they do train for it. The guy that won, and I won't tell you who, you got to go watch it.
Well, I wonder
He
if
was
coach.
did like stretching, like neck exercises and all this stuff. There's actually, you can't just eat like this. You can't just do it like tomorrow. They actually do prepare. Like your body has to, but I don't know if they just throw it up afterwards or
I
go through
wonder
the
if
trouble of
coach
digesting it.
I remember when we interviewed Coach Sean, I wonder if like he's ever done any like competitive eating and what he would think about that being like an Olympic sport.
Oh my God. No. I'm done at breakdancing. I can't even, and then that video that was going around of that one girl who, I don't know what she was doing, but
Ray Gun. I love Ray Gun.
we got to stop
Awesome.
with this madness. Anyway.
Well, I have some letters from our listeners, guys, but here's the problem. I don't know how to review them on Audible or our iHeartRadio yet. So I can't read them. So if you've left us a comment or a letter on Audible or iHeartRadio, I promise you I will try to sort that out this week. And so stay tuned. Next week, maybe I'll have some of those comments or some of those reviews that I can actually read about. But
Oh
again, for the cheap
gosh.
seats, remember what I said. You can always do the old fashioned thing and send us an email. So
Oh, stay tuned
anyway,
for that.
right? So Cheryl has today's topic. So take it away, Cheryl. And yes, we're headed right back to murder.
We are. And you guys, this is like I said earlier, it's a very heavy topic. I'm going to discuss the murder of a child. You can see it in the title, and sexual abuse of children. So please, if this is not good for you for whatever reason, please click off. My sources are Grizzly True Crime, Orlando.com, and ABC News. And I have been saturated and just immersing myself in all things Madeline Soto for the last week. And
And
it
I'm here to
really,
tell you,
whew,
I'm here to tell you guys that ooh, I mean, you uh, I don't know how news commentators put on all that makeup and smile at the camera because sometimes it's hard to scrape Cheryl off the ground when you call her and she's been like up to her eyeballs in this stuff.
yeah. And then I dream and have all these weird dreams. But so
Right.
today we're going to be talking about the murder of Madeline Soto. And we're probably going to be talking about her for a long time. I mean, not consistently, but we will do updates because this is very new. It just happened this year. Um, So we're talking about Maddie Soto, and her mother is Jen Soto, and her mother's ex-boyfriend is Stephen Stearns, and I'm going to be referring to him as Stearns from here on out. And so we're going back to Florida, Joy. Is that any surprise? This is
Florida
Kissimmee,
man,
Florida. Boy, oh
Florida man.
boy.
Remember what we said, all the craziest stories, Texas and Florida, but Arizona's right behind them.
I know, I got to get out of here. So, Maddie was born on February 22nd, 2011, and she had just celebrated her 13th birthday this year, February 22nd, 2024, and she was killed a few days later, probably in the early morning of February 26th. What happens on February 26th is that she's reported missing around 8 p.m. after her mother, Jen, and her ex-boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, reportedly dropped her off near Hunters Creek Middle School. They say that, okay, this is very early stages. I mean, this just happened a few months ago. So there's a lot of conflicting interview or testimony by both of them, Jen, her mother, and Stefan or Stearns. And this is what is so frustrating about this. Maddie says that Maddie's mother, Jen, says she went to the school around 4:30 p.m. to pick her up, but she was told that Maddie had never come to school that day. And Jen says Maddie left her phone at home. And in one interview, she says Maddie has ADHD, and she laughs. It is incredibly frustrating and maddening to watch Jen in interviews. She is so inappropriate. And this ADHD thing, I, along with some behavior experts, don't believe that Maddie maybe had ADHD. It's something that maybe Jen just conjured up to support the details of some of the stuff that went on in here. Anyway, so after they report her missing, the Orange County Sheriff's Office issue a release to the public about her disappearance, and they ask for information about her whereabouts. And then on February 28th, a massive search was conducted by the Sheriff's Office. Orange County Sheriff John Mina said that deputies accessed Maddie's phone, finding information that indicated she wanted to live in the woods when she turned 13 years old on February 22nd. So you have to wonder, where does that come from? Why would she say something like that? The sheriff's office announced that Stearns was arrested as the prime suspect in Maddie's disappearance. Investigators said that detectives discovered disturbing images when they searched Stearns' phone, and a review of the device's data showed that someone had tried to delete the evidence ahead of time. The images and videos on his phone were criminal and sexual in nature, and detectives were able to pinpoint those crimes to the family's home in Kissimmee, Florida. As a result, Stearns was arrested and held on no bond. The probable cause affidavit shows that Stearns told detectives he had accidentally, in quotes, accidentally performed a factory reset on his phone on February 26th. Just so happens, on the day that she goes missing, he accidentally performs a factory reset on his phone. Do anyone believe that? No, you cannot accidentally. You know how you try to delete a file from somewhere and it's always like, are you sure you want to delete this? And you're like, yes. And are you really sure? There's all kinds of messages that come up. It's really hard to accidentally factory reset your phone. But he gives his phone over willingly when the detectives show up after she's reported missingly, because he's like, yeah, go and check it. But of course they're still able to discover images on the device, and a Google Drive that depicted child pornography. Investigators added that they also found a photo on Stearns' phone showing a roommate of Jen Soto's nude in the bathroom. So the roommate said she hadn't given Stearns permission to take that photo. So apparently he put his phone under the door while the door was closed of one of her roommates. Yeah.
What a creep.
So then yeah. On March 1st, Maddie's body was found in a wooded area off Hickory Tree Road in Osceola County. During a news conference, Orange County Sheriff John Mina said investigators were confident that Maddie was already dead, having been killed at her Kissimmee home before Stearns moved her body. According to Mina, there was evidence showing Stearns throwing items into a dumpster at the Kissimmee apartment complex around 7:35 a.m. on February 26, the day Maddie was reported missing. The sheriff's office later said that they found Maddie's backpack and her school-issued laptop in a dumpster. It's great. I'm so grateful that criminals are stupid. There's cameras everywhere and he's discarding her stuff and of course it's going to be found. So I mean, I'm really happy, about that they aren't masterminds. While Stearns had
Mhm.
reportedly dropped Maddie off near school that day, Mina explained that that wasn't the case and Stearns was instead spotted. Get this. There's video of him driving the vehicle with Maddie's body inside. Police said she was dead while she was strapped to the front passenger seat, and she can be seen in the video and by witnesses slumped to one side. So imagine seeing that video knowing she's dead in that video. That is, it's atrocious. It's unbelievable. But it's no secret that this guy is a dirtbag, just a loser, low life, uh, very messed up person. But it's eventually Maddie's mother that I want to talk about. Because this guy, he's never going to see the light of day. He's
Right.
toast, you know.
And also knowing what we know about what happens to pedophiles and people
Yeah,
who participate in child sexual assault and things like that in prison, he's not going to have an easy go of it.
yeah. Anyway, we know he is a nobody loser and he deserves what he's going to get and we know what he's going to get. But like I said, eventually I want to talk about her mother. So, released documents detail that when the body was located, detectives noted that the bottoms of Maddie's socks were clean, indicating that she hadn't walked anywhere. The medical examiner also immediately noted that the right portion of Maddie's hyoid bone, I always have a hard time saying that. So it's in your neck, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
like off to the side of your Adam's apple, I think. That bone was not intact, which could possibly be related to her being strangled. And then later on, her death was officially ruled a homicide by strangulation. So on March 12th of this year, 2024, the Orange Osceola State Attorney's Office announced that it filed 60 counts, 60, not 60 counts against Stearns, including the following: 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation, 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child, 10 or more images. And April 24th, Stephen Stearns is indicted for the murder of Madeline Soto. So in March, he's so shortly after she's found, March 1st, right? He's arrested for the child, the sexual battery, the pornography, all of that. And then March, April, and then about a month later, he's indicted for her murder. And this is just a little note, but after he was arrested, his father contacted the Northport Police Department in reference to him wanting to hand over Stearns's old computer towers he found while cleaning out his son's old room. His father was, now I got to give a shout out to his parents. They are not protecting the scumbag. His father was in fear that the computer tower may potentially have more videos and photos of unlawful sexual activity with minors on it.
Can I
So
just ask really quickly, when you say 8 counts of sexual battery, 5 counts of sexual battery, 7 counts of lewd or lascivious, does that mean that they found 8 times that he did sexual battery and 5 times, 7 times that he did lewd or lascivious? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, is that
Yeah.
how many times, like, say, maybe they came across like 8
Eight
videos and
kid.
5 videos and 7 videos? Is that what that means?
Yeah. I
Okay.
believe. I mean, I'm 99.9999% sure. And the 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child, that just it makes my stomach turn. There's 10 or more images. So I believe that each count has 10 or more images, right? So that's a lot of images. I read
Okay.
somewhere that he had 1,500, 1500 on just his phone alone. And what cracks me up is the dude was like, here, check my phone, because he thought he was a
Well, remember
genius.
he'd done a factory reset,
Yeah,
so
well, that's what I mean.
apparently that genius guy was like, "Oh, I'm the smartest guy in the room. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a factory reset, and they won't find anything." I was like, eh. It's
I
like,
love
come
that.
on, it's
It's
just, it's like not knowing that cameras are recording our movements at all times,
all
not
times.
knowing that the
I
cloud is capturing all the stuff that we're, you know what I mean? I just, it's just,
No, but I love it. Don't you? I mean, it's so classic. Like here, I have nothing to hide, and then they find. It's like, are you kidding? You cannot ever really delete anything, which I'm glad about. I don't have anything to hide. I mean, you're not going to like that they can find anything deleted if you do have something to hide. So, but I just want to say really quick that there's so much out there, Joy, that we would, this would be a 10-part series, and like I said, we're going to follow up after Stearns's trial. It's going to be next year.
mhm.
And what happens with Jen Soto, Maddie's mother, is still open and up for
Has she not
future
been
things.
arrested?
No, she has not, but we are going to talk about her because I am
Bet you she's
so
not. I bet she's not moving around a lot. If she's not been arrested, she may be like on some kind of, like, where they're like, you might want to like just lay low because, you're being surveilled.
well, she's going to be in a world of hurt, I believe. I hope and I believe. But the parents, so there's so much out there, you guys. I really wanted to focus on Jen, Maddie's mother, but there is an interview with police that Stephen Stearns' parents did. And what I really liked about it is they are, like I said earlier, they are not protecting him. And in fact, when the father states at one point that he turned to the mother and said, do we really know him? You know, because they were asked, that's right, the police asked the parents, do you think your son could do something like this? Like, have something to do with the foul play. I don't know if Maddie's body had been found yet at that point, if she was just missing or after, doesn't matter. The father looked at the mom and said about Stephen Stearns, do we really know him? Now, that says a lot, right?
Well,
If somebody asked you,
it also makes me wonder if he hadn't had problems with this kind of behavior, like maybe say in uh when he was younger, like as a student in school, maybe he had like, maybe they had
yeah, I
had
mean,
to, maybe he had expunged a minor rap sheet or offenses when he was still a minor. Did he serve any time in juvie? Because here's the thing, like, under 18, that stuff wouldn't necessarily, they have to protect minors. So maybe that would
mhm.
have come out. But if they had had instances where, he had been involved in illegal activity of this nature when he was under 18, his parents would know about it, and maybe they had, some knowledge of that. And so that's why they were like, we don't want to mess around with this. Our son has obviously had problems, and we need to do whatever we can. Also, remember, going back to Jennifer Crumbly, they are probably like, we don't want to get in trouble for something our kid did.
Yeah, but they went and they friggin' ran from the law and they were hiding in a warehouse. I mean, it was just like they Yeah, I don't think they were. I'm not. It's not that I don't think. I know they weren't upfront and honest. So they really tried to hide their culpability in it. But I think that it remains to be seen, because I do agree with you. This doesn't just start after he's 37. He was
Right.
37. So this doesn't just start. You don't just one day start doing. You don't. Yeah. So I believe
Right. The parents knew.
that there's probably other stuff. This is very recent. So there's going to be stuff that comes out, I'm sure. And maybe the parents, after a lifetime or 37 years, or how whenever he started showing this kind of behavior, have just washed their hands and just said, okay, we can't protect him this time. This
Right.
is serious, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, the parents, the father said to the mom, do we really know him? In other words, yes. When a officer says, do you think your son could do something, like this, or something of this magnitude? They're basically saying yes. You can't just say no,
Right.
right? So again, Maddie's birthday was on February 22nd, and then a party was held for her at Jen's mother's house on the 25th. Jen could not attend because she was working. She's asked at one point if she had gotten the job before the party was planned, or if the party was planned after. Basically, whoever asked her that was kind of alluding to the fact that it's your daughter's birthday. Like, maybe you want to be there. You know what I mean? I understand having to work, but there's a lot of there's so much. And I criticize her too. She's just mother of the year, and I'm being sarcastic. Anyway, the theory is that Stearns killed Maddie in the early morning hours of the 26th. So the party was on the 25th, and it was at Jen's mother's house. And there is an interview where Jen's asked if Stearns was there, and she says no, because Jen's mother didn't like him. But anyway, so Maddie has this party on the 25th, and then we're going to talk about the night of the 25th. We're going to talk about that a lot. But the theory is that she was killed in the early morning hours of the 26th, when a roommate says she heard noises from the guest room at 2:30 a.m. So
Mm.
we just have to wonder what triggered Stearns to kill her. There's a lot of theories, right? Was she pregnant? Was Maddie pregnant? Did she threaten to tell someone?
But
She
if she was
also,
pregnant, wouldn't that have come out in the autopsy report?
well, and all they've said so far about the autopsy report was that it was homicide by strangulation.
And the
But
thing about
yeah,
the thyroid bone. Here's the thing is would they not say it because she was a minor?
maybe, but I think she was. So um, it's funny because, well, Jen to me is a liar. Her mom is a liar. I would put more credibility in what Maddie's friends say. And Maddie's friends said that they had their periods at the same time. Remember, you and I had that discussion, when women are around each other a
Yeah.
lot, they start to have their periods at the same time, and that she had missed it. She missed it. Her friends got it. She didn't get it, but then she did get it later. So I think you're right. I think that would have come out with the autopsy report. But
Yeah, but
maybe she,
kids can lie about their period. I used to lie about all the time. I was one of the last people that got their period ever. And all my friends already got their period. And I used to lie about it because I was embarrassed that I wasn't getting periods and all my friends were getting periods.
Yeah, like I said, this is very early. This just happened. She was killed February of this year, the end of February. So this is very new. So a lot of stuff still going to come out. There was also information that Maddie had a crush on someone, I think in school, and she had told him it, told Stearns, and it was kind of known that she had a crush on someone. So was he jealous? That would be so sick, but it could be, right? Um, so I want to talk about Jen, Mother of the Year. So when she and Stearns were interviewed after Maddie went missing, they were interviewed at her mother's office, which was really weird to me that she had the police come there instead of their home. And to me, that's like, are you maybe uncomfortable with the police coming into your house? Anyway, there's video out there. You can watch it. You can see for yourself how Stearns is like, just, you can see he's upset. And Jen is very, her, I can't say how I would act if I were in her shoes or my daughter or son went missing, but it's certainly not the way she's acting. And at one point they're asked what Maddie was wearing, and Stern says she was wearing a green hoodie and jeans, and then Jen corrects him and says black shorts, and Stearns repeats, oh yeah, black shorts. Well, the problem with that is that Jen initially when she's interviewed, like, she it's incredible how people, well, I guess they have to try, but people who have committed a crime, I'm not saying she actually committed a crime, I do think she was negligent, how they think they are good enough actors to get away with stuff. But I guess they have to try. But in her interviews, she says, we took Maddie to school. And then she'll say, I wasn't there when my partner took Maddie to school. And this is all on video. And it's like, lady, I mean, so she says,
That's
yeah,
what
so she
talked
says,
about. Credibility gets shot to hell. And the fact of the matter is even if, like, you know, even if she, okay, so she wasn't a good mom and she didn't protect her child, but, you know, even if she didn't actually do any of the things that killed her daughter, the fact of the matter is
oh,
her credibility is shot to hell because, I mean, nobody believes her.
well, she served her daughter up on a silver platter to this pedophile. And for that, she should be charged and held accountable with something. So yeah, she's flip-flopping. And there's been talk about, and I want to know what you think about this. So maybe when she says we, it's because it's like a collective, we as a family dropped her off. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't physically mean we as in I and Stearns went to drop Maddie off at school. Do you think that she could be using we as a, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a collective, not.
No, here's what I believe. I believe that in cases like this where there's a lot of like shady shit going down and people have, one of the things that I did notice, because I did listen to a couple of podcasts, one of the things I noticed is um they had worked to make sure that they were telling the police the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously they separate these two people and they ask them the same questions, and they had a script. So I don't think that anything that Jen says or anything that Stern says was accidental or unintentional. um
Right.
Again, I go back to like what you said, they're not actors and
Mm-hmm.
they're not masterminds and they're not, like uh FBI agents or CIA agents, or, so of course they're going to say stuff that incriminates themselves, and they're going to lie and they're going to double back. And, I mean, that's the thing, that whenever you see these police confession rooms and people break down and sign confessions and start crying and blubbering and blah blah blah, it's like, come on, like, don't think for a second that you know more than these cops that
Right.
are
I know. It's
interviewing you.
incredible.
Like, this is what they do
Oh,
for a living, and it's called a shakedown, and they're going to get their information one way or the other. So stop lying and making shit up, and then be like, oh, I didn't do anything. It's like, come on.
yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I just wanted, because there was talk about that, and I was like, oh, maybe they used wheat. No. Anyway, she is on video very much contradicting herself, saying that he took her to school and then we took her to school and then I wasn't there and blah blah blah. Okay, so then there's an interview with Jen Soto, and her attorney was present because she lawyered up by this point, with police on April 18th, 2024. And I have to tell you, the questioning, when you say, these guys know what they're doing, my God, I've never heard a more fascinating and thorough interview. This guy's name, the lead investigator, lead detective, his name's William J., and he's the division chief for the homicide unit. And there were two other detectives in the room, but he did most of the questioning except for like 4 questions that the other detective asked. But it was so thorough. It was like, you've done this before. I mean, and he knew the case, like he knew it inside and out, and he knew what to ask her. It was incredible. So go out and listen to that if you want to hear it yourself. It's Jen, her interview on April 18th with William J. So
Okay.
this is this is a mouthful. This is an investigative subpoena a derivative use immunity interview. Investigative subpoena derivative use immunity interview. It's a type of protection given to a person who's forced to testify in a criminal case. It means that the person's testimony cannot be used against them in a future prosecution. However, because everybody was bummed about that. She got immunity. She got immunity. No, the government can still prosecute if they can prove that their evidence came from a different source. So she does not have immunity from criminal prosecution. It's just what she says in this interview cannot be used against her. But I am fully confident that they're going to find evidence elsewhere. And I pray and I hope and I think she is going to be charged with something. It's a few days after this interview that he is officially charged with first-degree murder. That Stearns is officially charged with first-degree murder of Madeline Soto. So during this interview, oh my God. Okay, you guys, I'm about to go on a rant. Just bear with me because I wanted to strangle her, Jen Soto. She shows absolutely no remorse for what happened to her daughter. Not remorse in that she's the one that had her hands around her throat, but just remorse for what's happened to her daughter. There's no sorrow. There's no devastation. There's no distress. She's calm. Now, is that because she's taking a bunch of meds? Because I'll go into that. This woman was just med happy. She was guarded. She was hesitant. And you can tell she is calculated with her answers, probably to not incriminate Stearns, which is then going to incriminate herself, right? Because if she throws him under the bus, she got to throw herself under the bus because it's like this dude was in the bed with your daughter. So
Mhm.
so all of her demeanor and her answers are all about self-preservation, and it is so maddening. It's so frustrating. Just imagine every time she's asked something, she takes a pause, she sighs, she starts with, I want to say, I think, I'm going to say, a lie's coming right after that. So
Right.
I just want to explain the living situation in this townhome. So in this townhome, Jen's father owns this townhome, Juan Soto. He owns this townhome, and he's
I'm
letting
sorry, can I
Jen.
just jump in here? Where's Maddie's father?
Were they divorced or just were never married? I know he's in Houston, Texas. He did try to, he fought for custody at one point, and for whatever reason, Jen won, which is just a travesty, a travesty. So for whatever reason, he's living in Houston. Like I said, we could go off on many different branches. That would just take a long time, but
Okay.
he has a wife, and according to all information so far, he loved her, he treated her well, he fought for custody of Maddie, and did not get it.
Hmm.
So in this townhome that Jen is living in, she has the downstairs master bedroom, and there's 3 rooms upstairs. 2 of the rooms are rented to 2 females, and one of the roommates has a 17-year-old son that occasionally comes and stays over. That leaves an extra bedroom. So there's 3 rooms up there, 2 are occupied by roommates. The third one is empty. Okay. So Maddie, poor Maddie, has a makeshift room, if you want to call it that, off the dining room. So it's basically the living room. And they put up these dividers, those freestanding privacy screens.
Yeah.
So there's 2 of them. So she has no actual wall, right? And when they show pictures of it, evidence photos, they couldn't even get her a solid screen. It's like a die cut. So there's, There's a design in it, so there's holes in it. And one side they put some kind of cloth so it's solid. The other one you can see right through. So this teenager does not have, well, she's a tween, right? At 12, I guess. At 13, you're a teenager. She was a 13 for only 3 days before she was killed.
So the
But
mother basically already has a history of not having healthy boundaries between herself and her child and not creating healthy boundaries for her child. I mean, so
yeah,
I I mean, honestly, all you had to do is just explain that makeshift room, and to me, I already hold the mother incredibly guilty of like creating an environment where her daughter
she's not safe.
didn't have safety and she didn't have her own space. There's plenty of kids who have to share rooms with siblings, or there's plenty of people who share rooms. I'm just saying, you have two female roommates and you have the master bedroom upstairs. What Jen should have done was
Downstairs.
she should have shared the master bedroom with Maddie.
She could have. So let me describe her master bedroom. She has a king size bed. She could have got two doubles in there
Yeah,
and
or two
made and
twins or
split
something.
the room. Yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just so December of 2022, Jen and Stearns break up, but Stearns continues to live with her in her townhome. And she's asked why, and she says, well, even though we broke up, I still considered him my best friend. This is how much of a loser this guy is. His father paid his rent of $600. Okay, parents, why are you supporting your 37-year-old son? He's paying his rent. That was like, are you kidding me? Get a job. Like, when do you kick your little birds out of the nest? Oh, I don't understand. You're enabling him. So,
Mhm.
and so, Jen says that before they broke up, okay, everybody ready for this? If you haven't already followed this story, sit down. When she and Stearns were together, he slept with Jen and her daughter Maddie in that king size bed in her master bedroom. But it gets worse. Maddie is in the middle of them.
Hmm.
Someone explain this to me. Can you? I mean, this is why she cannot get off scot free for her part in this. Her
Mhm.
part of not protecting her child, of basically serving her up on a silver platter to this douchebag. I am okay. So
Let's go
also,
back
so
to what,
now,
remember we talked about deadbeat parents? Oh my God, don't
uh,
get me started on deadbeat parents.
so Maddie's last night alive. Okay, this is the day she had her birthday party at her grandma's house. Jen comes home from work, and Maddie is sharing what she got at her party, and there's conflicting information. Jen wants to make it seem like Maddie was happy, happy, happy. She was so excited about her birthday. She loved it. She was showing me all the things she got. But Maddie's friends say that Maddie was very mad at Jen, at her mom, because, well, one, she wasn't at her party. Two, um, sh Jen apparently didn't give Maddie anything. And I don't know, I kind of tend to believe Maddie's friends because I just believe her more. I believe they're her friends more than I do the mother, because the mother has she has she has reason to try to paint everything, right? She has ulterior motive to make it seem like Maddie, everything was great in that house, right?
Hmm.
Maddie's happy, happy, happy. But the friends are the ones that say, well, no, she told us this, that, and the other, right? So I believe the friends. But anyway, Jen has the next day off, but she is so concerned with getting a good night's sleep that she sends Stearns and Maddie. Listen to this. She sends Stearns and Maddie to go sleep upstairs in the guest room together.
It's really
What?
crazy. But again,
37-year-old man.
we've already established that Jen doesn't have appropriate boundaries. So of course, she doesn't have appropriate boundaries for herself. She's broken up with this man, but he's
I
still a roommate and they're best friends. So she also
yeah,
doesn't have
at
appropriate boundaries for her child.
Because remember, at this point, they've broken up. So it just is
Mhm.
getting worse and worse and worse. You're broken up with this 37-year-old loser, and you're going to send him to sleep upstairs with your just turned 13-year-old daughter. Okay. Also, I want to say that all she had on her calendar the next morning was a blood draw and a Botox appointment that she canceled at the last minute. This Botox, and she said she couldn't afford it. It was $350. So she had a $350 Botox
Why are
appointment,
you
but she didn't
getting
buy.
Botox and you have 2, 3 roommates? I don't get it. Like, I'm assuming
Right?
she's roommates because she needs to help pay the rent.
Oh,
If
oh,
you're
oh,
that hard up, you shouldn't be paying for Botox appointments. You should be fucking like, I don't know, uh holding down a second job or something.
well, and maybe buying your daughter a gift. She
Or
told
getting
her,
her a room.
right, exactly. So Jen is heavily into medication. I don't know what her ailments were, but she took meds. She's very into sleeping
Her
and
ailment was that she
getting,
was living with a pedophile. Ew.
and she was off her rocker. I mean, she needs help because the roommate said that one night Jen's car was broken into and they went to wake her up, okay? And they could not wake her up. They literally could not wake her up. And the next morning they said to her, Jen, what if there was a fire or something? And her response was, someone will come and get me. Now, her daughter is in the house too. I don't understand that kind of
Well, we've already
thinking.
established she's batshit crazy.
I mean, I told you I sleep on the couch in the living room with Callie because I worry about her. Okay, that's another story. But this is her daughter, and she wants to just knock herself out so she can get a good night's
The
sleep.
reason you
There's a
sleep on the
fun.
couch with Callie is so that you can breastfeed her.
Exactly, according to one of my friends. That's a throwback from an earlier episode that you guys will need to go back to season 1 for. The other thing is Maddie takes hydroxyzine for anxiety. She takes it or she's given it. And this is the other thing. She's administered her medication. She's 13 at this point. I don't know how long she had been given this, but she's given it. I think she's old enough to take her own, but I don't know. I don't have children, so you will have to educate me on that. But Stern says he admits this that the night that she dies, or the night of the early morning, he gave her extra even though she didn't need it. I don't understand that. But and then Jen's asked about whether she takes THC, and she says she does, and it's in capsule form. During this interview, the detectives asked if Stearns may have given Maddie some that night, and she said she asked him about it, but he denied it. And I'm thinking there may be something in her toxicology report that hasn't come out yet. Because during this interview, these guys are so good. This detective, that they have shit on Jen, and they're
Mhm.
telling her that as long as you tell the truth in this. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't say earlier about the whole derivative use immunity interview. She cannot, this information cannot be used against her to prosecute. However, if they find that she's lying in this, all bets are off. Okay. And she is so stupid because when they're questioning her, they have already done their homework and they want to see if she's going to be
Right.
truthful. The other thing is Maddie took Marilax regularly, which makes me sad because because it was probably the hydroxyzine. Because when you take those antidepressants and all this shit, or anxiety meds, it may constipate you.
Yeah.
And then at one point, the detective asks about Maddie and sleepovers, and Jen says she wouldn't let Maddie sleep over at a friend's because she didn't trust who would be at the house and didn't want Maddie to be molested. Yet she sends Maddie to bed with her ex-boyfriend, 37-year-old ex-boyfriend. So is it maybe because she, at sleepovers, you get cozy with your friends and she didn't want Maddie to disclose what was going on in her own home?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what she was doing. She was covering her own ass.
Yep. So, and then get this. So there was one time Jen said that she and Stearns accidentally gave Maddie too much hydroxyzine because they both gave it to her, not knowing the other one had already given it to her. This is the quote unquote care that Maddie had. This is inexcusable.
So, so sad.
It's
So
her
sad.
child. I would be the only one giving my child meds. When I lived with someone else, who shall remain nameless, I was in control of my dog's meds because of this, because you don't want to be accidentally double medicating them anyway. So they accidentally gave Maddie too much hydroxyzine one night. I mean, this is just terrible. And then she's also asked if Maddie and Stern slept in the upstairs bedroom alone, other than that last night. And this one, I wanted, oh God. She takes this really deep sigh and she exhales like she's just so exasperated. And she takes this huge, huge, long pause. And what I loved about this part of the interview, she takes this very pregnant pause, as they call it. And the detective cuts in and before she answers, because she's taking so long, he says to Jen, answer knowing that we have seen texts between you and Stearns.
Oh,
I
wow.
loved it. He just called her out because she was like, and then not saying anything. He's like, answer me knowing we already know. So of course she has to admit that Stearns and Maddie slept alone together. Okay. More
Mhm.
than once. So I mean, already right there, what is that? So about the biological father. So this text that Jen sends her father, Maddie's father, this text before she goes to visit him. I hope no one touches her or films her under the door. The detective goes, that's oddly specific. Why would you text that to him? And she says, conveniently, she doesn't remember the text. Then she says, oh,
Sure.
no, I remember. I saw a story about this happening on a plane. But remember, Stearns did this to one of her roommates. And then the detective says that on June 16, 2023, listen to this. It's very, very scary and telling. And I don't know what exactly she meant, but there's a text on June 16, 2023 from Jen to Stearns. And she texts him, Maddie's no longer sleeping with me. I can't risk it. And the detective asks her what she means by that. And after a very long pause, she says she doesn't know.
Yeah,
So
she knows.
was she making videos of her while they slept
She
together?
she
She and
knows.
her. So also Jen had a period tracker for Maddie. It's something sinister, like was she pimping Maddie out
Well,
and
if
she wanted
she
to,
again, the toxicology report is important. If she had something like polycystic ovarian disease, which most 13-year-olds are not identified as having, then that would be alarming and sad because it causes pain and it causes bloating, it causes a lot of excessive bleeding, et cetera, weight gain, hormone changes. However, for a mom to have a period tracker on a 13-year-old, the only thing I can come up with is she wanted to keep track on her cycle. So
yeah, but
I
it's
find
to
that
me
very
it's
strange because most
yeah.
moms are not even having regular periods at the age of 13.
And
It
I think
takes 1 to 2 years for your period to regulate when you start.
well, she had it earlier. I want to say 11, but I could be wrong. Anyway, it was she was remember this is a very sad sentence. Maddie was only 13 for 4 days.
Right.
So at one point, the detective asks Jen if after Stearns moved out, did she ever ask him to come back to quote unquote babysit Maddie while she went to lunch with a friend? And she says, of course, she doesn't remember that. But I think that the detectives have probably already interviewed that friend.
Mhm.
So she's protecting herself by not lying, but she's saying she doesn't remember. So
What
at least
about
she's not
the
saying
detectives talking to the roommates about, hey, tell us about your roommate Jen and her creepy ass ex boyfriend?
right. And there's not I haven't heard a lot, but like I said, I haven't listened to every single thing out there. There's so much.
But also tell us about your creepy ass roommate Jen.
Right. Yeah. And so Jen was taking medication that affected her sex drive, meaning she didn't have one. And this horrified me. And I didn't look into it more because there's so much already to go over in this. But the detective mentions to her that she had responded in regard to evidence that Stearns sexually abused Maddie. She responded, he was sexually frustrated. Oh my God. As a mother, for that to even come out of your mouth is,
Uh,
she should be
well,
handcuffed just for that.
I think that they also, I mean, I don't know, was that just audio or Did they show her body language and things like that? Was it like a
I don't
video?
there's so many. I don't know where this came. I don't know where that actual where she made that comment, if it was
Oh,
on
they have body
video or
language
audio.
experts. And I gotta tell you, like, there is, I believe firmly that this woman was crazy, cuckoo crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's so she's also asked if Stern isn't there and she needs to get a good night's sleep. What does she have Maddie do? She says she has Maddie sleep on the other side of the bed. She's asked if she ever sends Maddie upstairs alone, and she says no, never. So why does she send her up there with Stearns when she needs to get a good night's sleep? Why couldn't she send him up there and have Maddie sleep in her bed like she
Yeah.
said she does? When she's just full of shit. So there's evidence that he abused Maddie from age 8 until he killed her at 13. And this is a fucking travesty, and this has got to stop. Just like the school shootings, parents need to stop making their children accessible, serving them up on silver platters, not protecting them and giving them the security that they should have as a child.
Yeah.
And that's all I got to
Well,
say about that.
the absentee parenting, like where parents are just handing children weapons and they know that their children are struggling and they're not doing anything to help them, or
Mm.
parents are, like, I think about that boy that went off into the Florida Everglades, remember? And he took a diary and he had already strangled his ex-girlfriend and like came back with her camper van, and the parents
Oh,
knew
yeah.
that something had happened, and they
Gabby
probably
Petito.
knew that he had, whatever happened to those parents. They probably knew when he went off in the Florida Everglades, he strangled his girlfriend.
They were Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. Yeah, I think the Laundries were under investigation. I don't want to misspeak, but that's I think
Cheryl's
the
like a
last I heard.
walking Rolodex of murder.
No,
I love how she just pulled those names out of her ass, like she just has the Rolodex in her ass. I mean, my God, I'm all, that guy who blah 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 blah. I mean, it's unreal. But anyway, that's how
God.
I feel about shoes, guys.
Say something funny, Joy. This was very, very
Ugh,
heavy, and
it
I'm very, very angry right now. So make me laugh.
very sad, very horrible, horrible crime. I can't even compare it to the crime that happened with Adidas and how they never sent me my shoes, because it's nothing like that. And yeah, I did just shout
No,
out
it's not.
Adidas. But you know what's an even bigger crime?
What's that, Joy?
That this is one of the longest episodes we've ever recorded.
And we are out of time.
That's right.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.